Charlie Parsons Boxing Social in association with William Hill and Empire Fight Store. Um, was going to redo the intro again, but it won't be the same as the first time. Joined on Zoom with Sammy Joe Luxton. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Been a while since sort of we last spoke. I suppose we were up in Newcastle. I know PFL had their thing on the following week. We went up to the basketball. The hospitality was excellent. You had an opportunity to go to PFL Europe in Newcastle, their sort of first event. How did you find everything?
I thought it was actually amazing. Like, even from an outsider perspective, like it was so well run and every fight was insane. So I was even going on my Instagram like a couple days later and like people I know from back home were sharing these videos and they're not necessarily like big fight fans. So the fact that they were sharing it, like, just really put in perspective for me, like how big it actually was.
Every time I speak to James, he's always sort of so adamant on the sort of trailblazing that they want to do for PFL and MMA in general. On a global power, we're seeing just how they're developing now in Europe as such, especially as a fighter from the UK. You want to sort of be backed in your home region before sort of going on to the world level. How nice is it to have that backing and support behind you?
It's massive to have that sort of support. So I feel like if you start off small and then start off like in England and then go to Europe and then you can push out globally, you sort of have that back in, like you feel more confident going into them fights that the hometowns have got you basically.
Obviously, PFL Europe having their groundbreaking event in Newcastle had an opportunity for you to watch that before you go onto the global scene. For you, I imagine you'll want to sort of do Europe. I know you've got a fight in Paris, which we'll talk about, but seeing it over here in the UK and being backed over here in the UK, a nice feeling.
Yeah, it's definitely a nice feeling to get that home crowd behind you, first of all. I think start small and then get the fans on board and then the support and then keep on pushing out to Europe and then globally. And I feel like the confidence you'll have knowing that the home crowd's got you as soon as you go, it just makes it that little bit better.
Sammy, something that's always sort of been discussed in MMA is fighter pay. I know PFL was something that they're sort of quite adamant about when they launched in America. They got Jake Paul involved, and there were talks about potentially Francis Ngannou too, in making sure that the fighters are treated properly. The treatment that you've received over the last 6 months or so, I know you haven't had a fight yet, but just in terms of sort of media activities and getting involved in stuff like the whole basketball in Newcastle, then the event in Newcastle itself, do you feel like that's sort of what fighters need from a grassroots level?
Yeah, they definitely need support from an outside of a fighting perspective because when you put your everything into fighting, you sort of take away from your whole life as well. So to add the social aspect into it and to create a brand around yourself rather than just be a fighter, it makes it that little bit easier because obviously after fighting, a lot of fighters just don't know what to do with themselves because that's all they've known. So to set yourself up as a brand as it is, I think PFL are really pushing that, and I feel like they're looking after everybody currently and looking after their future as well.
Well, you are marketable, and I know you've been pushing social media as such, and sort of ever since that fight on the Mayweather Chalmers card, your stock's absolutely risen. Now you look forward to your next date in Paris. How excited are you, and how is training going?
I am buzzing for Paris. Obviously, being at the Newcastle show, I was just itching to get in and fight straight away. I'm also going to the Berlin one, so it'll be a double whammy of pretty much getting my hypes up for it. But yeah, I can't wait for Paris, and it's going to be a great show.
Obviously, when we were up in Newcastle, they had Connor on board as well. I suppose it's nice. Obviously, there's all this talent from all over Europe, and it's sort of in parts being done in eliminator sort of ways and just sort of fighting to be the best, etc. Being able to have a country mate with you and being able to sort of share those experiences. I know you sort of didn't know each other too well prior to that, but I suppose when you've got someone from the same country as you, it's sort of a bit of extra support, and I suppose you can brush off any cobwebs. And I know he's fighting in Berlin, I think, so you'll be there to support him.
Yeah, it's definitely like starting to build friendships with all the other fighters on the roster. So you're not going in and you're not just looking at everybody being like, oh my God, like I'm so alone. Like there's not that feeling anymore. So you walk into the room and then like you know a few of the people. So it just settles you a bit. So it's a nice community. That's what I really see it as so it's good.
Moving forward now, obviously we talk about Paris, etc. If the opportunities come to sort of get involved in boxing again, maybe another exhibition of some sort, stuff like that. If the money's right, say, or the opportunity's right, do you take it, or is your mind screwed on with the MMA now? I mean, what's your sort of mindset with everything? I imagine you're gonna get a lot of opportunities moving forward.
So obviously I've got to make sure that I leave a full camp to prevent any injuries or all that for Paris. But if I can snatch a boxing fight up before, I'll take it. Keeps me active and keeps my mind busy.
Look, something I've got to ask you about. Sonny Edwards was aired by Cloverfields. You put out a tweet to Sonny, and Sonny replied saying, "Well, if it don't work first, then the second one works," or something like that. Had a bit of back and forth with him. Any more going on in the DM, Sammy?
No, I don't kiss and tell, Charlie.
Okay. We've got to ask. We've got to ask. That's our job to look for a title.
With questions. Nah, just a little bit of friendly banter, flirty banter. That's all it is.
Fair play, fair play. Look, I won't keep you for too long now. But I sort of allow you to touch on everything else, I suppose, away from fighting. You were just telling me before the recording, about going down to Swansea for an AU thing with Charlie Slough, etc. When I talk about sort of the management of everything and the opportunities that you get away from sort of fighting itself and now building yourself up on social media, etc. How nice is this for you, and how much do you sort of relish doing things like that? Because at the end of the day, you know, you're going to get opportunities when you're in camp and out of camp, and sometimes it'll feel a bit tedious, but it's all sort of to build your own profile and sort of grow you as a person. And I suppose you can't complain with that.
Yeah, see, I've always said that I want to build myself as a brand. So obviously I'm a fighter first, but I would need to build myself as a brand. So doing these types of things, I still don't feel like it's real yet. But I'm enjoying all the like little life experiences and things like that, and it's only pushing my name out there. And then like when I went down there was a few other girls there, and I was talking to them, and they were, "Oh my God, you're a fighter!" And I was like, "Yeah." And then they were like, "Let me follow you on Instagram." And then they were sharing me, going like, "Oh my God, she's a fighter, guys." So it's just getting them different
Yeah.
connections and then pushing myself out there.
Two more from me then. What can we expect when we see you PFL Paris? What a place to make your PFL debut. Beautiful city. I know you can't wait. Expecting a dominant performance?
I definitely am. I feel like I'm just raring to go now. And I keep on seeing like little things online. So like little comments here and there being like, oh, she's too much social media now. Like, and I'm ready to prove a point. I'm ready to shut everybody up.
And then just finally a message to your fans, people watching, or maybe people that don't know you, what they can expect for the journey ahead.
Lots of crazy stuff for the future, whether that's fighting wise, personal wise, but everybody's support is just like keeping me going. So I love everybody for that, and I just can't wait to see what the future holds.
Well, Sammy, thank you for your time. We look forward to watching your career as it unfolds. And yeah, thank you for making the time to speak to us at Boxing Social.